Today we will be discussing how to access and use the Water Quality Emergency Preparedness System, WQEPS, to perform updates to site and contact information needed as part of the annual Homeland Security Update. Before we begin, there are some pieces of general information to relay. It is important to alert every user that on the right-hand side of every STEERS window there is a countdown timer which begins as soon as the window opens with a 20-minute limit. The countdown timer is part of every window within the system and is a STEERS standard mechanism. Once a window opens, a user must click a save option within that specific window to restart the timer at 20 minutes, or the system will log off due to inactivity. TCEQ strongly suggests that you save your work often, and you definitely save if you happen to receive a telephone call while you are entering data on a specific window. If you fail to save within the 20-minute time limit, all data entered since the previous save will be lost and the session will end. The following instructions within this video assume the user already has the STEERS ER account ID and password required to log in and use the ePermit system and its related modules, like the Water Quality Emergency Preparedness System. If you have not yet signed up for and obtained the required STEERS user ID, please go to the STEERS main sign-in window located at the URL https://www.tceq.exas.gov/STEERS/ and click the hyperlink titled "I need to create a new account" and follow the ensuing steps. Sign the electronic version or print and fax the paper version of the STEERS Participation Agreement or SPA to obtain the STEERS electronic ER account number. If annual Homeland information for the permitted treatment plant and collection system was submitted for the previous year, the user will only need to update information which has changed. The 2021 Homeland information was entered and migrated into the new WQEPS system and should be reflected in the system's entry windows. To help make the WQEPS system easier and more time effective and allow for more expeditious data entry, it is suggested that you have the following information gathered before beginning entering data. Information for all contacts associated with the site that will be entered, including names, titles, addresses, telephone numbers, and email addresses. Information for any hired operating companies which operate your treatment plant or collection system, including the company name and contact information. Information on any collection systems which convey wastewater to your collection or treatment system, which would be community served, including the system's relevant lift station information, and information on lift stations within your collection system, including the lift station name, decimal latitude and longitude to 6 digits, whether a generator is on site, the generator size in kilowatts, voltage, phase, fuel type, if fuel is stored on site, and how many hours the stored fuel will last. To begin your WQEPS session, at the STEERS main sign-in window, the user should enter the ER account number and password and click Login. The user will then be asked a security question based on what was completed when the STEERS electronic reporting or ER account and SPA were created and submitted. Type in your answer and click Go. If your answer was incorrect, you will be asked a different question. If your answer was correct, a window showing dates and times of the user's last 10 logins will show on the screen, and the user will need to review the logins listed and answer the question of, were these logins made by you, yes or no? If the logins listed were made by you, click Yes to flow to the STEERS Home window. Once the user clicks Yes, the STEERS Home window will be on the screen. The STEERS Home window allows the user to select the desired ePermits program area. When performing the annual Homeland Security Update, the user will need to select or click the Water Quality Emergency Preparedness System, parentheses EPR_WQEPS option. If the WQEPS module is not available for selection, the user will have to add it by following these steps. Click My Account on the top right bar of the STEERS home window. Under STEERS Access, select the EPR WQEPS program from the pick list and then click Go. On the Access screen, select the access type and the appropriate relationship/authorization, then save changes. The paper SPA or e-sign SPA will need to be completed to activate the WQEPS module for your ER account ID. Note that an e-sign SPA can only be used if you have a Texas driver's license. Otherwise, a paper SPA must be completed and submitted according to the directions in STEERS. After the user selects or clicks on the Water Quality Emergency Preparedness System, the WQEPS Activities window will appear. The WQEPS Activities window has different functions and requires the user to click different options depending on whether the user has, during a previous WQEPS session, created an application for the water quality permit for the annual Homeland Security update year and needs to access and continue completing an existing application, or if the current session is the first WQEPS session for the water quality permit for the annual Homeland Security update year, the user will need to fill out a new application by clicking the Fill Out button. This is also the window which the user will use to electronically sign a completed application prior to submitting by clicking the Sign button, submit a completed and signed application by clicking the Submit button, set access rights for an existing application if the signed-on user is the one which created the application, delete an existing application, or review an application's history by clicking the History button. If an application has already been created during a previous WQEPS session, the user should scan the list of existing applications looking for the reference number noted during the session when the desired application was created and roll the cursor over and click in the Select box for the line containing the desired reference number. This will produce a check mark in the Select box. Once the check mark is showing, the user can click the Edit box next to the check mark to reopen the WQEPS system to continue entering data for that application. Only applications with a status of in progress showing in the right column on the list can be selected for updating. If the user selects and clicks Edit on an application with the status ready to submit, an informational message will be shown on the top of the window relaying that the application is in Ready to Submit status and must be submitted, therefore not allowing the user to perform any further updates to the specified application. If this is the desired application to work in, the user needs to click the Select button to highlight the row showing as ready to submit. Click the Sign button and follow the ensuing steps to cancel or confirm cancellation of the signature to perform further updates to the application. This will revert the status back to in progress. The user should notice the available option, Access an application by password. This option is only valid if the application has already been created by the current or another user and the password is known by the current user. To create a new application, the user should click I want to fill out a new application. By clicking I want to fill out a new application, the system will flow to the next activities window where the user will select the type of wastewater plant represented by the water quality permit. The next activity window is the first window used to initiate the application creation process, where the user will begin by choosing whether the application is for a domestic wastewater treatment facility, WWTF, or an industrial wastewater facility by clicking the appropriate radio button. After clicking the correct radio button, the user should click the next button to flow to the Authorization Validation window. If the user happens to click the Activities button, the system will flow back to the initial Activities window where the list of existing applications was shown, or where they clicked "I want to fill out a new application." The Authorization Validation window will require the user to enter the security code and water quality permit number to initiate the system to search for and populate all existing information for the water quality permit site into the WQEPS system. This window requires the user to enter the security code for the year and water quality permit number. The security code should have been obtained from either the annual Homeland Security Update request mailed to the annual contact for the site, or from the annual Homeland Security Update request electronically mailed to the annual contact for the site. The security codes are unique to the specific water quality permit and Homeland Security information submittal year. The user should notice that 3 entry fields are on this window. The security code, which must be entered. The user can then enter the water quality permit number or enter the regulated entity reference number, an RN followed by 9 digits, with the security code to search for the water quality permit number. With the security code and either the water quality permit number or the RN number in the fields, the user should click Search to initiate the system to find the site's related site and homeland information. If data is found for this entered security code and permit, the second domestic wastewater treatment window is opened. The second domestic wastewater treatment facility window shows the existing site information from the entry of the water quality permit into the database and requests the user to review the permit information. The information in this window reflects the existing permit and registration information entered into TCEQ's Permit and Registration Information System, or PARIS database, when the permit was issued. No information is available for the user to update on this window. The user is only to review the data presented. If changes are required due to incorrect information, the user should submit a core data form and contact the Water Quality Division. After reviewing the information, the user has 3 options. Click Confirm Permit Information if all information is correct. Click Cancel if the information is incorrect and the user wants to re-enter the security code and permit number, or RN, in case it may have been entered incorrectly, or click the Activities if there are issues with the information and the user desires to flow back to the Activities window, where the user can opt to fill out a new application or access an application by password. Clicking the Confirm Permit Information will generate an application within the WQEPS system and bring the Application Created window to the screen. The Application Creation window lists the data for the application created. The data shown are the application reference number and the application password, which is a system-generated password. The user should make note of both pieces of data, the application reference number and the password. This information will be needed if another ER account, different user, is allowed to access the information for this application and given access to perform work on this application submittal. Granting rights to other users can only be done by the user who initially created the application and will need to be completed using the Activities window by clicking the Set Access Rights. To also work on a specific application for a water quality permit and submittal year, any user with a different ER account number would need the application reference number and password to allow the user to work or view the existing application. The Application Created window also provides a great deal of information for the user. This window details how the user can change the password for the application and how the user can provide access to the application created to others. provide them with the application reference number and password, and set user access rights for the application. Once the application reference number and password are noted, all the information is read and access to others is completed if necessary. The user must click Next at the bottom of the window where the statement reads, "Click Next to fill out the domestic wastewater treatment facility type for the application reference number." This will allow the system to flow to the initial data entry window for the WQEPS system, the primary contact window. The primary contact window allows the user to enter the information for the primary site contact. This is the primary contact who TCEQ should contact for obtaining any information about the plant site or collection system. The user should notice that the left side of the window shows the application reference number from the previous window. Under the reference number, the user sees a list of different windows and tasks to flow through to complete an annual Homeland Security update in the WQEPS system. The user should review the existing data in this and every other window to see if changes are needed. If no changes are needed, upon review, the user can click Next Save to save the existing information and move on to the ensuing windows. From this primary contact window, the flow is to the secondary contact window. The information on this primary contact window and all other contact windows will function the same and consist of the following fields. The information which can be updated and changed includes the organization name, the primary contact's first, middle name, initial, last name, prefix, and suffix, credentials, which is an example of professional engineer or PE. This is a multi-select from an available list on the left side, and buttons in the center which will move the credentials selected on the available side to the selected credentials on the right side. The title, which is their job title, for example, EHS manager, address, phone number with any needed extension, fax number, or email address. The user shall notice that some data fields are preceded by a red asterisk, which signifies that these fields are mandatory information. Regarding the contact address, the user can either enter a new address or copy an existing address by clicking on the Select One pick list. If the user wants to copy an existing address, the options are to copy either a specific physical address or the site physical address. After an entry has been completed, the user should click Next Save to save the information and flow to the secondary contact window. The secondary contact window is where the user will enter the information for the secondary site contact. The secondary site contact should be the person that is knowledgeable and can answer questions relating to activities and the status of the plant site and collection system if the primary contact is unavailable. The user should review the existing data in the window to see if changes are needed. If no changes are needed, upon review, the user can click Next Save to save the information and move on to the outside operating company contact. If the site does not have an outside operating company performing daily operations for either the wastewater treatment facility, collection system, or both, clicking Next Save will flow instead to the Section 1 Annual Contact window. The user will have the opportunity to add an outside operating company contact at the Domestic Wastewater Treatment Plant General Information section. The outside company contact window is the window which is to be used to relay contact information if you have an operating company managing the daily operations of the wastewater treatment plant, collection system, or both. If an outside operations company is not employed for the wastewater treatment facility plant site, whether never or not currently, the user has the option to delete this contact at the Domestic Wastewater Treatment Facility General Information section of this system. The user can opt not to enter anything and just click the Next Save button to flow to the Section 1 Annual Contact window and go back and delete this information before submittal. The user should review the existing data in the window to see if changes are needed. If no changes are needed, upon review, the user can click Next Save to save the information and move on to the Section 1 Annual Contact window. The Section 1 Annual Contact window is where the user will enter information for the primary emergency preparedness site contact. This is the primary contact who TCEQ should contact for obtaining any information regarding the wastewater treatment plant or collection system during a natural disaster or emergency response. The person serving as the annual contact should be someone who will have information about the plant site or collection system and be able to speak to TCEQ and answer questions relating to plant and collection system viability, the ability to reach the plant if needed, any major issues with the plant or collection system operation, should have knowledge of any sanitary sewer overflows, lift station operational status, fuel or chemical status or needs, and the status of the electrical equipment, and whether any emergency generator is operational or needed. The system will display the total based on the active annual contacts found in the TCEQ database. If no annual contact is found, the system will not proceed past this window because at least one annual contact is required and must be completed to advance to the next screen. The initial entry field on this window is a field setting the total number of annual contacts for this site. The user has the option to enter a number on this field to create the total annual contact sections to be filled out. After the user enters the total number of annual contacts, the Update Total button must be clicked for the system to create appropriate annual contact sections, for example, twice if 2 annual contacts are needed. After all contact information has been entered or updated, the Next Save button will save the information and flow to the Domestic Wastewater Treatment Facility General Information window, or to another annual contact window if there is more than one for this site. This will continue until all annual contact entry is complete for the number of annual contacts listed. The Domestic Wastewater Treatment Facility General Information window is where the user will enter the information about the wastewater treatment facility. The information to be entered on this screen will consist of the treatment facility site telephone number with any applicable extension, after-hours emergency hotline number with applicable extension, the after-hours emergency hotline number and any corresponding extension may not be needed if the contact number is the same at all times during the day. The treatment facility latitude and longitude at the front gate. The wastewater treatment facility latitude and longitude entries are updatable or enterable if they were not entered as part of the water quality permit issuance. TCEQ will review all submitted latitude and longitude values and verify that the values are correct. Once the latitude and longitude values are verified, TCEQ will check a box, essentially locking the values and making what is reflected to the user on the window as non-updatable fields. Continuing with the requested data, is the treatment facility built? Yes or no? Please note, additional questions will be placed on screen if the treatment facility is built. For this session, we are using a facility that is already built. So continuing with the information fields, what is the estimated annual population served by this wastewater treatment facility? Does the treatment facility have backup power? Yes or no? If the answer is yes, a fuel type entry is mandatory. What type of fuel does the power source use? This field is a multi-select entry which contains a list of available fuel types on the left column of the selection window. To select the appropriate fuel types for the backup power source, select the fuel types on the available list, then select the top arrow button located between the two columns to move the fuel types to the selected column. You can use the second button located in between the two columns to select all fuel types. If you selected an incorrect fuel type, select the fuel type in error on the right and move it to the left box. Now, does the treatment facility serve other communities? The user is requested to select either yes or no. This question is asking if the city or owner of the wastewater treatment facility is selling or providing wastewater treatment plant capacity services to another entity. For example, a city or entity surrounded by a larger city, where the larger city provides wastewater treatment facility to the inner or smaller city, or a MUD which owns a wastewater treatment facility is providing treatment service to another MUD, or a city providing treatment to a mobile home park that charges their tenants but does not own a treatment plant. If yes is clicked, meaning that the wastewater treatment facility does provide service to other communities, then additional questions appear. The selection box may contain a list of possible additional community names, which can be selected and moved from available on the left to the selected list on the right. All buttons to move are the same and function like the buttons on the fuel type selection just discussed. If there aren't any communities being served, but one needs to be added as a new community, then the option None needs to be selected. A second question, 7.3.2, appears asking, in addition to the list of communities selected above, are there additional communities that are being served by the treatment facility? The user needs to select yes or no. If yes is selected, meaning that there are additional communities being served that were not in the selection window, an additional window is opened upon the user clicking Next Save. Is the daily operation of the wastewater treatment facility contracted to an outside operating company? The user must select yes or no. If an annual operating company is employed to oversee the daily operation of the plant collection system or both, the user should click yes. If the entity performing the daily operations and monitoring of the plant is the same as the plant owner, whether it be a city, MUD, etc., then the answer is no. Note, this is the place in the application where the user can delete the outside company contacts which exist if they are not correct, as was mentioned earlier. Since the data submitted with previous year's applications is being reflected back to the user in the current application being updated, outside company contacts may exist which are not correct in the current situation. If the previous application had an outside company operating the plant or collection system, but this company is no longer performing those duties, the outside company contact can be deleted here. After the user has reviewed the data entered on this window and completed any necessary changes, the data is ready to be saved. Click Next Save to save the changes and advance to the next window. The Community Serve window has functionality similar to the window which allows the user to add the additional annual contacts. If the system found any active communities served in the database from previous submittals, you will see the total number found here, but this field is set to read only. You will have the opportunity to enter the total number of communities served in the Community Served New section. If there are no active communities served in the TCEQ database, then you can enter the total number here and click Update Total. The system will create appropriate number of community served sections for you to perform the update. The user will notice that the list on the left side of the STEERS window includes extra entries for the current community served and the additional communities served. The initial community served window will be for the community which is listed in the multi-select window. If needed, an option exists for the user to download or view the saved communities served using an Excel or PDF option. The heading above the data entry fields on this window will read as Community 1 of this window, since this is the first in the list of communities served. The user should review the information for the listed community served, make any necessary updates, and when ready, click Next Save. This will save the data for the community served and advance to the next section. The information on the community served screen consists of the name of the community, preloaded from the selection list, estimated community population, emergency contact name, the company name, contact work telephone number, extension if needed, cell phone, and are there any active lift stations in the community, which requires the user to select yes or no. Note, if the system found active lift stations in the TCEQ database, the user will see this question. Otherwise, you will have the option to enter the total and add lift stations to the community. If the user enters no, the system will request data for the lift stations currently within the system, if any lift stations already exist. If the user enters yes, the community will have lift stations that the system will add question 9.1, which is the number of lift stations. The user should enter the number of lift stations for the community served. 9.2, a selection box with a list of current lift stations that are active for the community. If the user wishes to keep the lift station active, select the lift station name from the available box and move to the right or the selected box. Since there are lift stations which are active, the user should be prepared to enter data to support the emergency response efforts for these lift stations. There are two different ways to enter lift station data. The required data is the same whichever way you choose to enter the data. You can manually add the lift station information by clicking the button Add Lift Stations, or you can use the Excel template to import the lift station data to the application. For option 1, based on the total number of lift stations entered on question 9.1, clicking the Add Lift Station button will bring up a window with the title Add Lift Stations for the specific community. The user must provide answers to all questions. The information needed for the lift stations is lift station name, which must be unique within the application. If you receive an error message on this field, it's likely due to the specified lift station name existing for this site. Is this the main lift station? Latitude and longitude formatted to 6 decimal places. Note, the user needs to enter the minus sign as the system does not handle this for latitude entries. For example, a 96-degree, 47-minute, and 14.5 seconds longitude entry, the user should enter minus 96.787400 in the longitude field. Does the lift station have a pressure or vacuum sewer? This question is asking whether the lift station in question serves either a low-pressure sewer system or a vacuum sewer system because of the possible immediate need for a generator to keep the lift station pumping to meet the need of the vacuum or low-pressure sewer system pumping to it. We need to know, is there a permanent generator on site? Yes or no, it's a drop-down selection. Is the lift station wired for a portable generator? That's a yes or no. This question is being asked if no permanent generator is on site. If there is a permanent generator on site, select no. We need to know the kilowatts rating of the generator on site, the voltage, the phase, and then select the fuel type for the generator. The standard selection box where the left side is the available fuel types and the right side will be the selected fuel types. The standard 4 selection buttons are between the available and selected boxes. Is there additional fuel on site? Yes or no? And what is the hours of operation on that fuel supply that is on site? Scroll to the bottom of the window and select Done to save the information, or Close to close the window and go back to the main window where lift station entry was initiated. All error messages must be fixed before Done can be clicked. Option 2, exporting and importing the Excel template. On the left-hand side of the lift station table, you will see the Export Template hyperlink and Import Excel button. To start the process, the user would click the Export Template button to generate and download the template. A Downloads dialog box will open with a hyperlink file in this format. The prefix of the Excel file name will be dependent on the WQEPS screen where the download was initiated. For example, the file will be Communities with the application reference number .xlsx if you were on the Community screen, and it will be WWTF lift station _ reference number .slxx if you were on the wastewater treatment plant / collection system screen when you initiated the download. Clicking the Open File hyperlink will open the Excel template stored in the user's computer downloads folder. The fields in the Excel template are the same as the fields the user would see if they were using the interface window to add lift station data. The first step on using the Excel template is to identify the total number of lift stations for the community, then format the spreadsheet for multiple entries. You can add additional rows by copying the formatted row number 2 of the spreadsheet, then paste the copies value to additional rows based on the number of lift stations to be reported, or you could click and select columns A to N on row 2. Under column N, hover over the little square on the lower right-hand corner of the field. Click and hold on the plus sign while hovering over the highlighted row 2. While you have the row highlighted with the plus sign, drag the row down and add as many rows as needed based on the number of lift stations to be reported. All the lift stations information in the Excel template must be saved before upload. To upload the completed Excel template, the user needs to be in the window where the export template was initiated. The user will click the Import Excel button. A window will open and prompt for the Excel file name. Navigate to the computer's download folder and select the Excel template. Then click the Open button to upload the file to the lift station screen. The system will validate the data in the Excel file and return invalid data on screen. All error messages must be fixed before you can advance to the next screen. Once lift station information is saved to the application, click on the Excel or PDF icon on the bottom of the lift station data grid to review the saved data for the lift stations. If there are additional communities served by the wastewater treatment facility, clicking Next Save will save the data on this screen and proceed to Community Served New window to complete new community information. The Community Served New window functions similar to the Community Served windows, but will be used to enter information for the communities served which have not been submitted to TCQ databases yet. The same information pieces will be needed to enter for each of the communities served new entry as entered for Community 1. Once the user has completed the entry of the data for the community served, clicking Next Save will save the data and move to the Collection System window. The Collection System window is for the user to enter information associated with the collection system owned by the same entity which owns the wastewater treatment facility. The entered information for this window will include the following. Are there active lift stations in the collection system feeding the wastewater treatment facility? If the user chooses no, The system will review previously submitted data, and if active lift stations are found to exist for the wastewater treatment facility collection system, the following message will be displayed. Since you indicate that there are no active lift stations in the collection system, listed here are the currently active lift stations for the wastewater treatment facility that will be marked as inactive, and a list of the active lift stations will be shown on screen, and the active lift stations will be marked inactive when the user clicks Next Save. If the user selects Yes, indicating that there are active lift stations within the collection system attached to the wastewater treatment facility, a list of available active lift stations will be populated with data from the database. The user will need to select and move the active lift stations, which are part of the collection system, from the available list to the selected list. When this is done, a list of the active lift stations and their respective data will be shown on screen in the selected column. The user also will be able to indicate if new lift stations need to be added to the collection system by selecting Yes on question 1.2. The user will have the option to manually add lift station data or use the Excel template to upload the lift stations for the collection system. The next question is, does the collection system have any pressure or vacuum sewers? This does not mean force mains. The user should choose Yes or No from the drop-down entry to answer this question. How many portable generators are part of this collection system? Once the user has answered all the questions in this screen and Next Save is clicked, the system will take the user to the WWTF lift station windows. If the user indicated to keep existing wastewater treatment facility lift stations, the WWTF lift station existing section will be created and display the data found in the database for the user to review and make updates as needed. If the user indicated to add new lift station to the collection system, the system will create the WWTF lift station new section for the user to enter the new lift station information. The user needs to identify the total number of new lift stations needing to be added and enter the total number on this field and click Update Total, so that the system can create the series of additional pages to add the new lift station information. The same two ways to add lift station data to the collection system exists as was previously relayed in the video during the Communities Served section. Once the user completes updating the existing lift station information and added the information for the number of new lift stations, Next Save will save all the lift station data and flows to the Activities window for the user to sign the application. The application creation process is now complete. Now you must generate the submittal, and once the final lift station is saved, the system will flow to the Activities window. To generate the submittal, on the Activities window, the first step is to click the selection button on the line containing the reference number. This will highlight the row in question. With the row highlighted, the user should then click the Sign button. This will have to be performed by somebody with the necessary access and processing rights for the wastewater permit associated to the reference number. The user should read through the page, check all the boxes, enter the ER account password. This is not the security key or password associated with the reference number, but instead the password used at the system login. And then click Apply Electronic Signature to electronically sign the application. Once the signature is applied, the system will provide two options for the user to click: continue with submitting the application reference number or return to the activities page. If the user selects return to the activities page and clicks next, the system returns to the activities window and lists the row for the reference number as ready to submit. If the user selects submit reference number and clicks next, the Submit screen will be displayed and the Submit button will need to be clicked to submit the application to TCEQ. Once the Submit button is clicked, the user should remain on the page until the submittal finishes processing. You have now created a submittal of an annual Homeland Security contact and update.